Are you ready, mighty companions?
Yes.
Ready to get down, ready to hear some preposterous stuff, some stuff that's different from what we hear in our everyday life. Okay, so this is what I'd like to invite you to do. Just for a minute, suspend what you think is the truth. Just for a minute, continue to let go of your ideas of what's real. And tell yourself that you're ready to hear something new. And then remind yourself that to hear something new means to hear something different. And that you don't have to believe it, and you don't have to accept it, and you don't have to welcome it. And some of it's going to be hard to believe, and some of it's going to be quite startling. But if you use it, what will happen? It will show us that it's true. So what we want to do for a minute is I invite you to just take a breath for a minute, close your eyes for a minute. And what I want to do is do a little short meditation to allow us to kind of let go of the day. Everything that happened today. And remind yourself that you have given everything that's happened to you today all the meaning that it has for you. That you are the one that's giving all the meaning that anything has for you. That you are giving all the meaning that any person has for you. You're giving it all the meaning that it has for you. And there's a statement that I'm going to say that I'm going to invite you at, that I'm going to say for a while. And anytime that you feel like joining in and saying it, whether you believe it or not, then I want to invite you to do that. And that statement is the first step to awakening. And the statement is, nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. I experience only the effects of my own choice. I experience only the effects of my own choice. I experience only the effects of my own choice. I experience only the effects of my own choice. I experience only the effects of my own choice. I experience only the effects of my own choice. I experience only the effects of my own choice. I experience only the effects of my own choice. I experience only the effects of my own choice. Now, is everyone clear about what happened today?
Yeah. Yes.
Is everyone now clear about what happened today?
Yes.
Yes.
You experienced only the effects of your own choice. Does that seem to be true?
Yes.
Yes.
That seems to be true in every circumstance to you?
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody in here that doesn't seem like it's true in every circumstance today? Bunch of y'all get lied. Because if it was true that you really knew that you were the one who caused everything to happen to you today, you would say to me that today you had complete and total peace all day long about everything. It's no way you can be upset and truly be aware that you are the one that's choosing everything that could happen to you, because you would simply make a choice that would not result in fear or pain or conflict. So every time you tell yourself something that you really don't believe, it creates conflict and it creates a block. It would be much better to say, there were some times today that I really recognized I was the one creating what was happening to me today. And there were some times today that I felt like I was a victim of what was going on around me, and I didn't have any choice about what was going on. As we begin to wake up spiritually, you're going to find that it's much more important for you to tell yourself the truth about what you feel than to tell yourself something that you know isn't true for you. Does that make sense to everybody? Like to be honest, how many in here today can honestly say all day long they felt complete peace about everything that was happening to them? Okay, that's one person. That's hardly a landslide response. Okay, all right. And if we are truly one with each other, and we are truly one, unless all of us experience peace today, none of us truly experience peace today. Individual peace isn't the same as real peace. Everybody with me on that? If we are one, then whatever affects one of us affects all of us. And if one of us is not feeling complete love, then none of us are experiencing complete love, because we are one. So if she felt like she experienced peace all day today, but we didn't experience peace all day today, then she didn't experience peace all day today. if she experienced peace all day today and we experience peace all day today, then we experience peace today. When you begin to wake up to who you really are, you realize there is no individual consciousness and individual egos. There's just what it says in that very first sentence, which is a great segue. On page 253, chapter 31, the nature of the mind. And it says, there is only one mind, just as there is only one will. Now that's opposite to what we've been taught, but we just got through saying we were willing to hear something different, right? All right, then it says, this you are afraid of, as you believe this statement threatens your independence, something you consider a state of being to be highly prized. This statement, there is only one mind, so there's only one will, however, more rightly confirms your interdependence and your wholeness. This statement that there is only one mind threatens my independence. How can I be independent if I'm connected to all of you? So the whole idea that there is only one mind, the part of us that wants to be separate, is threatened by that idea. Okay? You know, this is my partner, and anybody else wanting to be anywhere near my partner is a threat, because there's all these separate beings. So that's why the spiritual path, I believe, is such a challenge when you really get into it. Because when you really get into it, you realize the things you're saying has very powerful ramifications. If we are truly one and the same being, it completely upsets the way we've organized all the rules. Everything we think is true. And that's what it's saying right here. It threatens our independence. And our independence is something, he says, we consider a state of being to be highly prized. Then it goes on to say, the idea of sharing one heart, one heartbeat, one love is not so unacceptable to you as the idea of sharing one mind. I'm willing to say that we have one heart. I'm willing to say that there is one love. He says we're willing to say that there's one heartbeat, but the idea of saying we all have the same mind and it's exactly the same mind has a lot, that's much more unacceptable. Because I can pride myself in thinking that I'm not the way someone else is thinking. But if that's my mind and it's one mind, then that's not so acceptable, because then I've got to admit that there are parts of my mind and some of my thinking that's not so cool. You follow me? If I say I love everybody and then someone else says I hate everybody, then I would have to honestly say, if there's one mind, there are thoughts in my mind of loving everybody, and there's a thought in my mind of hating everybody. Do you see why that's unacceptable? Because when you're ready to think one thing about yourself, and then you're hearing something opposite to what you believe, it's hard for you to believe that that thought would be in your mind, that that is a thought in your own mind that you're seeing. And then it goes on to say, though your thoughts you feel are your own private and sacrosanct, these highly guarded and regarded thoughts are what A Course in Miracles calls body thoughts. Distinctions are made in many religions and philosophies that separate thought as dictated by the body from thought of a higher order or spiritual thought. In other words, thoughts related to your personal self. Like when you're reading these books, since they're all based on oneness, like the Course in Miracles, the Course of Love, whenever you're reading them, you could always keep going further and just say that means. Like for instance, it says, distinctions are made in many religions and philosophies that separate thought, as dictated by the body, from thought of a higher order or spiritual thought. Then your mind goes, well, what does that mean? Keep reading. It means thoughts related to your personal self and the so-called laws of the body, such as those of survival, are not the thoughts of the true self. See, now that might have been easier to understand than what you just heard right before that. In other words, none of the thoughts that we have that are related to our personal self and all the rules that we think the body must operate by, in other words, thoughts of survival. Thoughts of survival do not come from your true self. Thoughts of survival do not come from your divine self. Thoughts of survival do not come from your God self. Thoughts of survival do not come from your real spiritual self. thoughts of survival do not come from your true self. Thoughts of survival and thoughts of the body surviving do not come from your true self. So what does that say about most of the thoughts that I have? Would that mean that most of the thoughts that I have during the day are not thoughts that are coming from my real, true, authentic, divine God self? What are the thoughts that I worry about all day? The thoughts of survival, the thoughts that relate to my body. And that's what he said. That's what Spirit is telling us right now. That the thoughts we think are not real thoughts. So when you hear stuff like thought is creative, it's not talking about what the thoughts we think. They aren't creative. Thoughts of survival are not creative thoughts. Thoughts of survival are images you make up in your mind. The Course in Miracles says thoughts are just images that I make. So our thoughts are just images we're making up all day. And he's saying that's not a God thought. That's not a real thought. That's not a real thought. And it's real thoughts that create. Images just make perceptions. So the thoughts we make are just individual perceptions and opinions that we make up, that nobody else necessarily sees it that way. Okay, I'm going to stop right here. Anyone would like any clarification about anything I've said, any questions, any comments, because that'll create the juice of the class. But try to keep them, if you can, related to what we're trying to understand right now. Okay.
What can I do about it?
Well, we're gonna go with that as we continue.
I mean, collective mind, and tomorrow, let's say, I want to. Well, let's not say I do. I want to have a peaceful, loving day as I can, and I've gotten this information now. I don't even know how to say this. Maybe I shouldn't even do it. But I just, all I can do is just keep living as the lovingness that I can, and even though I know that somebody else's thoughts that are connected are not loving and things like that. I mean,
all you can do during the day is what you're gonna do during the day. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then forgive yourself if you happen to do something during the day that you think isn't as loving as you want it to be.
Yeah.
And try to choose for love the next time. See, the ego can get you caught up in that. But keep in mind that what we're talking about and what this chapter is called is the nature of the mind. So it's not really so much trying to tell us how to solve our day-to-day problems. This chapter is about us understanding more about how the mind works.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not so much about how do I go out tomorrow and live in the world, even though I know I got thoughts of survival and that's not my real thought. That's not really what this is about. This is really about a chapter that's trying to teach us the nature of how the mind works. And not only that, to teach us that the nature of the mind, number one, is to know there is only one mind. And then the next thing that it's telling us is to keep in mind that it's unacceptable to some part of us to believe that we only have one mind. And the other part was trying to get us to see that there are two levels of thought. One level is coming from our real self. And he says the way you can tell that your thought isn't coming from your real self is that it will be a thought of survival and it will be a thought about your body. So what it's doing at this point in these two paragraphs, it's trying to teach us the distinction between a real thought and something that we're making up and calling a thought. So that's what this is about at this point. Because I didn't even know that. I thought my thoughts about everything that was going on all day was a real thought. So to me it's a revelation to really get that all day long I'm not thinking anything. Isn't that deep? The Course in Miracles actually says that our minds are blank. That our minds are actually blank all day long. Do you know how it says we're blank? It's blank. He says, but Because it's thinking about we only think about the past or the future all day. And he says the past is gone and the future's not yet. So in both cases, you're thinking about something that doesn't exist. So he says that really we've already achieved that Zen state of blank mind. We walk around with a blank mind all day. He said what we're trying to do is finally not have a blank mind. We've been doing blank mind forever. And you know it's not a real thought because of how it makes us feel. Thoughts of survival and thoughts of the body do not make you feel really carefree and peaceful. Most people aren't feeling carefree and peaceful. I would venture to say most of the people today went to work and went to jobs that was not absolutely thrilling to them, but things that they were doing for survival. What about you? Can you see that? That most people are doing stuff for survival. I'm trying to pay my rent so that I can have a place for my shelter for my body. I'm trying to go to the store, to the restaurant because I need to feed my body. I'm worried about medical insurance because I need to have my body taken care of. I need some money so that I can take care of my body. That's what we're being told, that body thoughts are not real thoughts. Body thoughts are just thoughts and images that we're making up because we've forgotten that we are divine spiritual beings having a human experience. And now we think we are the human experience. Follow me? Everybody with me on that? This won't make sense unless you're willing to entertain the idea that you're a divine spiritual being, that you may be more than just a body that lives a few years and tries to have some fun and dies. Okay, it's like at some level you have to begin to, and we should by now, I mean, we're at the end of the book. So, I mean, by now, we should have reached the point that we're entertaining the idea that we may be more than what we were taught we were, because that's what it's been saying the whole time we've been doing this. Okay, so if you are an infinite being, then you are more than a physical body. And so it's telling us if you want to create, which comes from thought, you've got to get to the point that you recognize what you're thinking are not thoughts. They're images that you're making up in your mind. And that's why the Course says thoughts are images you have made. When I look at you, I'm not thinking of you. I have an image of you that I'm making up. And then I'm responding to that image of you. That's not a thought. That's just an image. Yes. Didn't you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to say, my mother, who was my teacher, used to say, stay aware of your body languages, so that you could stay, as you said, at what we really are.
Yeah, body language is a lot, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
When you opened up, you were talking about peace, and you asked who was all peaceful all day today, and one person raised their mind. So if we're all connected, and not beyond this room, what's going on over the Middle East and everything, everybody, we truly ever have peace?
Well, the first thing,
is just survival that we're.
Well, the first thing is which is really funny, because what we're eventually going to learn is that no one can solve all the problems of the world. That it's not even possible to solve all the problems of the world. Every day it looks like we're dealing with all these unsolvable problems. But the truth says to us that there's only one problem and there's only one solution. And what we're looking at is the different manifestations of the one problem. And the one problem is we think we're separate from God, that we think we're separate from our source. The one problem is that we think we're separate from each other. You know, you wouldn't let your child starve. The average person would not let their own child starve because they feel connected to that child. If we truly felt connected to each other, none of us would be hungry either. But we don't. And since we don't feel connected with each other, we are not concerned about each other. We're concerned generally about our special relationships. That's who gets our food. That's who gets our attention. That's who's going to get the help. Usually. There are exceptions to everything, but I'm just saying let's get real. Right. Okay? let's get real. Let's not be not be honest with ourselves. The truth is, we think we're separate.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying that is the one problem. And the one solution is a miracle. And he defines a miracle as a correct perception or forgiveness. So if I had and then this is going to be the toughest part of all. That's why I love questions, because when people ask questions, spirit just goes from one thing to another. It's not about you solving all the problems of the world. It's about God, higher power, the source, infinite intelligence, that which created everything. It's about that part of us correcting the situation and us getting out of the way so that that part of us can function through us to bring the love and the healing into the world. It is not about you studying so that you can correct everybody and heal everybody around you. It's about us learning how to give problems to the Holy Spirit, the higher self.
That's right.
Which is almost impossible for someone who doesn't even believe that that exists. That's why when you say to people, give it to God, that to most people that's the same as saying do nothing about it. That's how little faith that most people have in a higher power. That they think when you say something like, I'm going to get this problem that I'm having with my partner to God. To them, that's the same as saying, you're telling me not to even really deal with it. Because we are so programmed to believe we're the correctors, even though we're not even able to correct ourselves. We're here because we want to learn how to correct ourselves and be corrected and heal, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we'll sit up here knowing we're trying to let our minds be healed, right? Thinking that our function is to fix someone else. Did you see how crazy that is? Mm-hmm. I'm here because I don't really know the truth completely myself. But I'm sitting up here thinking that I'm supposed to be correcting you, though. Mm-hmm. So I'm here so I can correct you. No, I'm here so that I can allow myself to be corrected.
Yeah, exactly.
I am not here to correct myself. See, so what he's doing right now is trying to teach us how the mind works, because once we understand that, then the next level will be to see the situation or circumstance that you were talking about healed. That's on the other side of kind of, in other words, you're kind of like, what's going on? Okay, I'm going to tell you what's going on. And then once you have some idea of what's really going on, you're in a position to have the healing. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense with everybody? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then as a result of allowing it to be corrected through us,
right,
then that makes it possible for us to have the type of day that we had today, where we were at peace all day, and we were caught up in extending to others. It flowed like water. Mm-hmm. But it came as a result of allowing Spirit to work through us.
Right.
So see, that's kind of where I get hung up in this area, and some resistance comes up, because when you ask, was anybody here at peace all day today, and I would say there are 3 of us here that were definitely at peace, or 4 of us all day, and it's not like we were doing that, and it's not like we're taking credit for it. It just, and I don't think that we got lucky. It came off that way, mm-hmm. and it was so cool, and it was one of those days, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to maybe even experience that feeling of separation on our way home. If someone cuts us off, there it is, but it's cool, because we got that glimmer all day that of the type of peace that we crave, and that is possible by allowing Spirit to work through us. And that's a neat feeling.
Right.
That is so cool. And
mm-hmm.
and that's when I feel connected, and I feel tuned in, and I don't feel separate. And it's so cool to get glimmers like that, because I know that I'm going to have those days where separation takes over a little bit more than the peaceful side. Mm-hmm. I know I'm still going to have those, mm-hmm. but it's so sweet to have those days where Spirit is right in front, you know.
But the thing that I wanted to relate to what you were saying was when you said glimmer. You know, that's what you just brought up though is a great point. What you just brought up was exactly what makes the course of love and the course in miracles and things like that so challenging. You know, because in the course of miracles, it says that the peace of God, the first characteristic of the peace of God is that it is unlike anything you have ever felt before. Okay, so your first test would be the peace that I had today. Can I honestly say this was like a peace I have never known before? There's nothing from my past that resembles this at all. He said, and the next test are you at peace? And then you go, is everyone I know at peace? And then he says, then the next test, it's called the test of truth. And then it says, the next thing you ask yourself, is anyone I can even think of at peace? And the average person will say, that's no. So if that's the condition for me ever having peace, I'm never going to have real peace. Okay? That would seem like the case, right? If it'd be one thing for me to say, I felt peace today. I felt really good today. But for me to say, everybody I know also felt peace today, no. Anybody I can think of felt peace today, I just have to say no. So according to the course and according to the truth, then you haven't experienced the peace that it is talking about yet. You know what I'm saying? You may be feeling the peace that you are talking about. You know what I'm saying? But it's saying the peace of God is at a level that's beyond our ability to comprehend. And not only that, it's not something we can ever achieve by ourselves.
That's right.
So what the book is doing, what all of this is doing, which I'm glad that it would bring up the resistance, is trying to get us to get to a level of consciousness where we are trying to achieve things that we can't achieve on our own, so that we will open up to a higher power having to guide us. Because as long as we think we can do it on our own at any level, we won't really turn to God. Does everybody hear what I'm saying? So I'm not negating the peace that you thought you had today, but based on what we're being told real peace is, it was a glimmer of the peace. It was something that would make you move in a direction of more and more peace, and your desire to be peaceful and to practice peace was your part in allowing the peace to come through you. So what you did today and what you experienced today was a beautiful thing. But according to this, it's a stepping stone toward experiencing a peace that never ends. Cool. Because ultimately, that's what we're going to experience. But we're not the ones who can bring ourselves to that. What the book is doing is trying to make us aware of the kinds of perceptions you need to have in order for it to happen. Like what you were saying, I got to have some perceptions that we're one. I got to have some perceptions that I want peace with you. I got to have some perceptions that nothing I experience is caused by anything outside of myself, that I'm experiencing only the effects of my own choice. These attitudes are the attitudes that allow Spirit to work through us to bring about that permanent peace that we're looking for. It's like cleaning the window so that the sun can come through, but you're not the one that's creating the sun, but you're definitely the one that had to open the blind. See what I'm saying? So in these classes, we're opening the blind, but we aren't making the sunlight. And see, we're trying to make the sunlight, and that's how we get frustrated. We're trying to make the sunlight. So the course is saying, no, if you went to work tomorrow and the blinds were open, the love in you would create the peace on your job all day long. And you wouldn't be figuring out how I'm supposed to deal with the people on the job tomorrow. Because the love would be handling the people on the job tomorrow. And you would be so centered, you literally wouldn't even care what the people on the job tomorrow were saying, what the people on the job tomorrow were doing, or anything else. Because the truth is, the only reason why I don't have peace with the people on the job tomorrow is because I'm experiencing the effects of my own choice not to feel peaceful. It doesn't have anything to do with them at all. That's why we could have peace in the time we want it. The once I get that it doesn't have anything to do with them at all, I could have it tomorrow. But I still have programming inside of me that tells me that the way I feel is affected by what other people do. That's a choice I make. You follow me? I still have a choice sometimes that I make that other people are affecting the way that I feel. And I also have choices that I make that say, you know what, I'm the one that's determining how I feel about that. And I go back and forth between the two, so sometimes I feel good and sometimes I don't. But that's just me making one choice and then another choice. That's it. Everything else is neutral. It's easy intellectually to hear that as we sit up here in a group. It's an altogether different ball game when you walk out that door to see if you can take that into your day-to-day experience. And that's where the disconnect comes. And when the disconnect comes, then we will talk the truth in here, but we'll leave out of here and still say, if we can just get the oil-rich nations to lower the price of gas, then gas will be cheaper, and then I'll have more money and I'll have more prosperity. We'll leave right out of here and say, you know, it's something out there that needs to change, and then our life will be better. If the Republicans win this time, our life will be better. If the Democrats win this time, I've lived long enough to know that neither one of them makes any difference. I don't care who's been in office. Sometimes I felt peaceful, and sometimes I don't. I don't care who I've been in relationship with. Sometimes I've felt peaceful, and sometimes I haven't. I don't care what jobs I've had since the day I was born. Sometimes I felt good on the job, and sometimes I felt bad on the job. Everybody with me on that?
Yeah.
So have you really had different jobs? Have you really had different relationships? Have you really had different presidents? If you're having the exact same experience no matter what's going on, you're not really dealing with a different experience, no matter what it looks like. Like Byron Katie said, you know, basically all we do is three things. You know, stand up, walk, stand, or lie down, you know, something like that. And she said, sit, stand, or lie down, and then everything else is our story. All day long, you're either sitting, or you're standing, or you're lying down in some way. The rest of it is just your story. We are not really having different experiences. We're having the same experiences at different times in different locations. So they're not really different. I haven't ever had a special love relationship that I didn't go through anxiety, despair, guilt, and attack broken in two by Pearson, in which it seemed like we went to a movie and we were feeling great. I've never had a relationship that I didn't have some anxiety at some time in it that was a special relationship. So I really haven't had different relationships until I'm no longer having the despair, anxiety, attack ever anymore. It's gone. It doesn't happen anymore. It says in the Course that if you're really healed of something, you only need to be healed or corrected once. That if you're really healed of it, it doesn't come back anymore. If you're really healed of it. So if I'm always being healed over and over again about one thing or another, he said, you've never been healed yet.
Yeah.
If I'm happy one day, he says, if you're happy one day, and you're sad one day, and you're happy one day, and you're sad one day, and you're happy, 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 sad, sad, happy, happy, sad, 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 happy. He said, you've never been happy. Because real happiness does not change like that. Real happiness only expands. So all of a sudden I had to go, well, I don't really know what real happiness is yet. Bingo! Now I can teach you, Earl. Now I can begin to teach you what real happiness is. You had to first realize that what you thought it was not even what it was. But it can be a hint. It can be a glimmer. It can be an example of the direction you should be heading in. I'd much rather head in the direction of the peaceful day that you all said that you had. But I also need to understand it's not real peace until there's nothing could change the way you feel right now. And by your own admission, you know something could change the way you feel right now. So you know that your peace was really something that was moving you toward peace, opening you up to the real peace, making you be willing to have the real peace happen.
Thank you.
You see what I'm saying?
Always, thank you.
That was sweet.
Yeah. So again, I'm not saying something I made up. So I'm just really just saying back what we've been taught. But sometimes it's hard for me to accept that. I don't know about you, but sometimes it's hard for me to accept that what I think is true is not necessarily what is the way that it is. And that's what I call my resistance.
Yeah.
You know, if you're sad, if I say that your happiness isn't real, you feel resistance, especially if you are feeling happy. Now, it's just like when if you're doing a class on special love relationships and saying you want to learn how to let go of relationships that are based on guilt and grievances and bargains and trying to make a person do what you want them to do through guilt and anger, and you hear that's not real and that's not real love. Now, if you've just been hurt in a relationship and you're still painting because you just had a relationship that didn't work out, you're glad to hear my class. Because you're gonna say, you doggone right. That's exactly what I just got really got through being hurt, and they was trying to control me, and they wasn't doing what they didn't treat me right, and they didn't do what I wanted them to do. But if you're in a relationship right now and you're in the honeymoon stage, where it seems like everything they do is just fine and it's beautiful, and I say a special relationship ultimately is not real, you ain't gonna want to hear that. Because that blows your illusion that what you have is real. So it's much harder to, in most cases, to accept the truth when you think you're getting what you want, even if it's not ultimately real. You see what I mean? You know, if it seems like it's going good for me right now, I don't want you to tell me that's not the ultimate reality of happiness that I could have. Because that seems like you're being a downer. What do you mean? No, he's telling me, look, real happiness, you can't lose it. Would you like to have one you can't lose? Well, I've never seen that before. That's why you don't ask for it. Because you can't figure out how to create it for yourself. That's why you can't ask for it. I don't know how to have peace within me, see only peace in you, and see peace in people I don't even know. So when it says stuff like that, it sounds impossible for me to achieve. That's the point. It is impossible for you to achieve. So you have to learn how to give it up to something more than what you understand. So you're on a very high level of consciousness. You're moving to another level of spiritual development that's much different from, I'm just trying to get this together so I can make sure I get that raise I want next week. This is a whole new level of consciousness. This is a level of consciousness where you're actually trying to heal your sense of separation from source. That's a whole achieve peace, real peace. That's what these classes are about. And that's going to challenge us. You had your hand up first.
Well, I lost what exactly you said when you said we need to give up asking for what we know.
Be willing to start asking for things that you know you can't do by yourself. You know, like he says, you know, how do you? He says, as long as we believe we can do something on our own, then we'll stay separate and won't join. It's not until you get to the point that you start asking for things that you can't do alone that you're really willing to join with others to accomplish things. You know, you know what I'm saying? If I had to lift a 400-pound stove by myself, then I'd do it. But if it was a 1,000-pound stove and I needed 3 or 4 other people, I'm open to assistance from others because it's more than what I can do by myself. Is that true? Well, that's what this is telling us. We won't really know the assistance and the power and the support of the universe until we start asking for things beyond what we think we can do on our own, and we'll continue to be autonomous and never know the support that we could have from the universal spirit. So loving everybody, I don't know how to love everybody as myself. I don't. So just that desire makes me have to be open to being taught or healed. See, humans are taught to be a good adult, you become completely autonomous and self-sufficient, and you don't need anybody. And the more you can do it by yourself, the more mature you are. Is that anybody that's got that programming? Okay. So that's a core belief that everything has to be done by me. Right? So no wonder nobody's offering you assistance. You have a core belief you need to do everything on your own. The universe always says yes. It reflects back to us what we believe. So if I believe that I have to do it by myself, no one's going to help me. Because I believe I've got to do it all myself. And so people don't realize that what they call people not supporting them, they don't realize it's just a reflection of their core belief as an adult that they need to do it on their own. And so nobody shows up. It's not complicated. I think I need to do it on my own. Everybody lets me. I get upset and say I'm not being supported. But I don't want anybody to do it. I have to do it, or I'm not a powerful, capable man.
I've been there.
Everybody got to look at it. Let me check in. Is everything that I'm saying is really strange?
No.
Okay. All right. So if God is created and our reality is a reflection of our belief, and I believe I'm on my own, then I have a world that it looks like I need to take care of everything by myself, and I don't get a whole lot of support.
That's not real.
But if I'm saying we are one, and what I want for myself, I want for you, and I want you to have the happiness I have, and I have a source that I can turn to, well then I'm inviting the universe into my life to help support whatever it is I'm trying to do. And all of a sudden, you have synchronicities, and magical things seem to happen, and the right people show up, and some kind of a breakthrough that you didn't even expect shows. And people don't realize all that stuff that's magical that's happening in their life is happening because they're no longer thinking in terms of being separate from everybody around them. It's not complicated, it's just different.
Unity together.
Did somebody else have their hand on me? Yeah.
Okay, I think I get everything you're saying. And what makes me want to do it more.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes me want to come more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. Because I ain't got nowhere else to go on Thursday night. I'm just kidding.
How moving?
No. I mean that in such because I have made that for this. Because it's a special night for me. And once again it is. But I get what you're saying. I believe. I won't be so bold to say, oh, I got you totally. But, shouldn't say, but there is a but here. I have felt happier, just take this last year, I have felt happier than I have felt. And so what I'm thinking I'm getting here is that the path that I'm on, the learning, learning of new things, and the exploration of what you're saying has led to some extra happiness in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the true every day, the eternal peace and happiness, which my God, I would love to have. No way, I can't claim that. I'm not claiming that. But I had a damn good year, is that what it can be attributed to? Is that I'm just on a pretty cool, peaceful trail with some pretty cool, peaceful, sweet, loving people and stuff like that, surrounding myself. I mean, so there is some reality to that, though, right? I mean,
when you reach the reality of happiness, then there will be no gaps in it.
Right.
And everything else is you're moving toward that. It's not negating the fact that you felt a lot of joy today. The only reason you felt that joy was because you were beginning to use correct perceptions of your experience.
Okay, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But perception is not reality. Perception is not the truth. Okay. Having a peaceful perception is not the same as being in the reality of peace.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what a peaceful perception does is it opens you up to being able to get to the point you experience the reality of peace permanently. So it's a move toward your goal.
Okay,
so it's almost like you're in a race and you halfway there, but you haven't crossed the finish line yet. But you feeling real good that you about 3/4 of the way, and you proud of yourself. Look at what I've done. I'm 3/4 of the way. I can really feel good about that. But you don't say I've now won the race.
No.
Right. So the happiness that we experience at this level is moving us toward the happiness that we want, that will be absolutely permanent.
Yeah, it makes you
and we
more.
should, and that's right, and we should enjoy it and be grateful for it and be glad that we are feeling it. So I'm not putting down the fact that you all thought y'all had peace today, or I thought I had peace today. I'm saying you're moving in the direction that you want to go in.
Yeah.
But it's not the ultimate level that you're going to experience yet.
But there is some truth to me, the feeling that I had a beautiful, sweet, loving year, because I am moving in the right direction.
Right.
Okay.
Right, because you couldn't feel that it was a beautiful, wonderful year unless you were beginning to change your mind about yourself and your reality.
Right.
And that's what the whole purpose of learning is, to get you to the point that you change your
Right.
mind to the point you see your life as
And that's
peaceful
why I
and
want to
loving.
coming on Thursdays.
Exactly,
And I don't want to have another place to go on Thursdays.
And I want to say, but I also want to say to you that there's a peace that you're going to experience that completely passes your understanding anything that you could possibly imagine. And being
That's
told
cool
that
to hear.
in no way negates the peace that you're feeling right now. And that's what you have to watch your ego doing. It's like the ego will, it's like your ego will make you think that somehow or another that what you're feeling isn't valid.
Right.
And that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying what you're experiencing is not the ultimate that we are being promised that
That's
we will
inspirational.
experience. Right.
Because that means
Right.
it can get better.
That's my whole point.
Yeah.
That's my whole point. That's my whole point. Because the
Still
question
take
I like to
you
ask
going.
people when they say that they're happy, I ask them, is the happiness you're feeling, if you be honest with yourself, is the happiness you're feeling based on you believing that the things that you would have liked to happen today happen? In other words, you're happy because it looked like the script that you made for the day seemed like it turned out really, really good. So that, my script for the day is that everybody's weight smiles at me, and then they have a real sunny day, and the temperature is about 75 degrees, and I can lay in the park and study the way of mastery like I did for part of this day. Now it's a great day. But is that really happiness based on my wholeness and centeredness and connecting with God? Or is that happiness based on a script that I made up for the day being carried out? And most people, and I'm not saying it's true for y'all,
That's true.
but most people, when they say they're happy, it just means the day went the way they think they would like for the day to go. And the truth says that's not real happiness, because it's based on something outside of yourself going a certain way. Real happiness would be, and this is really deep, would be you could be in the middle of a crucifixion and you still have peace. That there's nothing happening out here would take your peace away.
Right.
If everything today had gone, you got fired and you came home and caught your mate in the bed with a horse, and then and your favorite movie, you know what I'm saying? In other words, you burglarized and your car won't crank up. And you can come in here and say, this was the most peaceful day today. It was the most wonderful day today. And you really mean it. I feel so peaceful and thankful. Now you're getting there. And see, I know I'm not to that point yet. I know I'm not to the point that somebody could rob me, I could have a wreck, and my kid could end up in the hospital. And I'm going to walk into this class and say, I just feel peace about everything. I'm not there yet.
Right.
But I'll get there faster by recognizing I'm not there yet. And saying, what would it take for me to change my mind so that I could get to the point I could have peace no matter what? Because my child that's sick in the hospital, I would be more helpful to them if I stayed peaceful and centered than I would be helpful to them if I was panicking because they had to have an operation. My brother is having a very, very serious operation tomorrow. An operation that's what the world calls life or death operation tomorrow. Now, if I'm really practicing the truth within myself, and I really knew my oneness with God, and I really knew his oneness with God, and I really, really was able to practice everything that we're saying we are practicing, then I would not lose my peace about this. I wouldn't lose my peace about it if he lived in this world continuously after tomorrow, or if he left tomorrow. I would still have centeredness. But if I can tell myself I don't know how I would react to that, that would be the honest response. Anything other than that, I'm just shucking and jiving and trying to play spiritual. Now, it would be easier for some of you to say, oh, it's just in divine order, or it's going to be okay in the way it goes, because it's not your brother.
Right.
So most truth students can practice the truth when it comes to somebody else's stuff than they can when it's their own stuff. Even though it's good to be reminded by everybody that my brother is immortal and no matter what happens, he'll always exist. That's good. But if you tell yourself that you have that attitude yourself, so therefore you can't understand me saying I don't know, then that's self-deception. And that's when you lie to yourself, and that's when you hurt yourself. And then before you know it, you got some situation in your life to see whether or not you really mean what you're saying. So I've learned that it's better to tell the truth rather than let the situation come up to show me that I'm lying about it. I'd much rather say I don't know than to say, oh, if it was my child, I would just pray and I know everything would be okay. When the truth is you'd be freaking out. You know, because you'll surely create a situation that you'll find you would freak out.
Yeah.
So it would be much better to say, you know what? I know how I'd like to be about my brother's operation. I know how I like to see it. I know what I'm going to study to see it. I know what I'm going to focus on to see it. But I don't know how I would feel in that situation. And I'm going to give it to God. Because that is the truth. Anything else would be a lie, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, for me to say I know beyond a shadow of a doubt how I would react to whatever happened to my brother tomorrow would be a lie. It would not be the truth. But truth students have a tendency to say stuff that they can't do. And then they attract the situation, they freak them out. And they go, oh my God, you know, I've been practicing, I've been reading, I've been meditating, I've been studying. Why is this happening to me? It's because you're in denial about all of your feelings and emotions. You're not owning all of your feelings and emotions. You're pretending that you're something that you're not before you're there. And so you have the situation show up to show you jiving yourself. I believe I'm sustained by the love of God. Oh, I got laid off. How am I going to make it? Wait a minute. You just said you were sustained by the love of God when you were getting paid. When a check was coming in every week, you was going, I'm sustained by the love of God. I'm sustained by, I got nothing but prosperity and abundance. The universe is taking care of me. No, you really believe that job was taking care of you. But you were saying you believe God was taking care of you. How do you know that? Because the job's gone and you're freaking out. God didn't go anywhere, the job did. So you should be the same. So that's what I'm saying. So I learned a long time ago, man, you need to tell the truth. You need to tell the truth and it'll be easier for the universe to come through for you. So today I'm learning how to separate my body thoughts and my ego thoughts from the thoughts of God. And every loving situation that you all experienced was a hint of what's to come and to let you know you're achieving the correct perceptions that allow the love of God to come into your life, which is beyond perception because perception changes. God's love doesn't. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for listening to this much tonight. Even if your ego resisted some parts of it, because if your ego resisted, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. When your ego resists something that you hear from this stuff, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It means you know that you have a belief that needs to be changed. You're innocent. Completely innocent. So I'm glad that you all had a hint today. Those of you who had a peaceful day, I'm glad that you had a hint of what you're going to have all the time. And for those of us that thought we didn't have a completely peaceful day, they're showing us it's possible to have a completely peaceful day.
Right.
If we change our mind, we can have a completely peaceful day because he can't be different from us. She can't be different from us. So if one person can have a peaceful day, all of us can have a peaceful day. But I'm at the point I'm trying to make my peace not based on my script being acted out. Because that's where the pain comes from.
Right.
I want to be peaceful no matter what happens with my brother tomorrow. You know what I had to tell myself? I had to tell myself, I don't know what's best for my brother. I don't know that it's best that he lives through the operation. I don't know if this tomorrow could be the day that his soul has decided that he goes to the next level of spiritual growth that's beyond this planet. Because I am learning that we are eternal beings who just inhabit bodies and then we might move on. You see what I'm saying? You know, my preference is that my brother goes through the operation very easily and he's still here in the body for me to have a relationship with. The love and the truth in me says, let God's will be done. That's what the truth would say. God's will be done. What my personal human self says, that doesn't know the truth, that wants everything the way it wants it, says, hey, I want my brother here tomorrow. You follow the difference? Yeah. When you wake up, you realize you don't know what's best for everybody. So you stop trying to make predictions about what you think everybody else should be experiencing. But when you still don't know the truth, you think that it needs to be the way you decided it should be, or something's wrong. You know. So to me, that's the thing about how do you apply it to your day-to-day life. Like you're saying, that's an example of how I would apply it to my day-to-day life. That's a real intense situation. This is you watching me apply the truth to that situation. Yeah. And the longer I teach, and it's 30 years in, the more I realize every year that you're getting it, the more you can tell the truth about your own ego. That you're not getting it when you think it's all about hiding your ego and pretending that you got it all together all the time. Just take my word for it. The people who have the least amount of drama are the people who tell the truth about their egos. And the people who go through the most hell are the ones who pretend they don't have one. I love everybody all the time. I feel one with everybody. A problem? I can't imagine that. How could you have a problem? I haven't had a problem. There is no such thing as problems. You know, it's like, great, there aren't. But you better darn sure really believe that when you say that out of your mouth. Because if you have any belief that there is a problem that you've hidden from yourself, it's going to come up for you to forgive it and release it. Because you're saying you have none. Oh, yes, you do in your perception. So how do I not have that problem come up and bite me in the butt? All I have to do is say, there's a possibility that I still have some unresolved things that need to be corrected within me, even if I don't know what they are. And I'm going to give them to the Holy Spirit. That's how you do it. You don't say, I don't have any because I feel good right now. So therefore, I don't have any. You know, to my ego, that's a scary proposition. You know, I've had 5 close family members make transition in the last 2 years. So I've had to really practice what the Course teaches about what is death. There is no death. The Son of God is free. How to live. So how do I make it practical? I go to the sections of the Course and Miracles of the Course of Love that specifically deal with that and study it. I put the What is Death section, I read it into a recorder and listened to it over and over and over and over again after my sister made a transition in the fire a couple of years ago. How do you make this stuff real? You run to it. When you have real life situations that you're dealing with, that's when you use this stuff the most. I didn't go anywhere else but to the truth. Now I have to believe my brother is more than his physical body. I want to believe my brother's. That's the practical application. That when my other brother's body was in the casket, I had to look at it and go, he's not his body. He's free. And I'm feeling all my feelings right now. And he's not his body. He's the Holy Son of God himself. He's not that body. And I'm feeling all my feelings right now about that. That's the practical application of the truth. But if I had stood in front of the casket and went, my brother's gone forever. He's just that body that died. I've never to myself said my sister and brother died. I might say that to people who think that they can't relate until you say that word and they understand. But within myself, my brother never died. My mother never died. They don't die. I tell myself that because I know it has to be the right perception, because that perception makes me feel more peaceful than the perception that my brother was a body that's died, that's in a casket, that's going to rot. Now, which one of those ideas make you feel the most peace? He's an eternal body, eternal being that's dropped his body and gone to a higher level of learning, or he was just this body that's now rotting in a casket. And so the Course says, if you look at those two thoughts, you'll know which one must be true. Because truth always makes you feel more peaceful, more alive, more inspired, more loved. And the ego, and what's not true, always makes you feel afraid and heavy and like you've lost something. Mm-hmm. So in both cases, my brother is not in the physical world anymore. So the only choice I have is how I'm going to see it. And then how I see it determines how I feel. And how I feel will determine what I see, and it works back and forth. So y'all with me? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's important as things come up in your life that are challenging, that's the time you go to the truth the most. That's when you give it to yourself the most, and that's when most people bail. It's when something bad happens, they go right to the world's description of what's going on. So pay attention to whether or not, when you're describing what's going on in your life, are you using the human perspective, or are you using the new spiritual perspective you're learning? If you're saying that you don't have a good job right now because of the economy, is that a true perspective, or is that a body, thought, human perspective? See what I mean? Yeah, that's how you can tell if you're practicing the truth. It's always what interpretation of the events are you using is your level of consciousness. The level of consciousness is your level of interpretation. So if I interpret it as my brother is spirit and not just a body, that's my level of consciousness. If I see it as my brother is just another human that might die and be gone, that's my level of consciousness. And that's what I perceive. And that's how I feel. Right. So there's a stage of learning where you have to learn how to keep your peace even if your script isn't being acted out. And there's a level of learning where you get a chance to watch yourself seem to manifest where it looks like all your scripts are being acted out. But then there comes a point, okay, can I keep my peace even if it looks like nobody's doing what I want to do what I want them to do all day? That's the friggin' stage I'm in. That's the test I'm going through right now. Purdy, can you maintain your peace even though it seems like your script is not being acted out right now any way you think you want it to be acted out? Can you still keep the faith? Can you still keep studying? Can you still keep reading? Can you still keep applying it to your life? Because I have long stretches where it looks like everything is going just the way that I think I want it to go. I had this thought about this happening, and poof, it happened. Then I had this thought about the relationship happening, poof, it happened. I had this thought about traveling, and poof, it happened. And so I'm happy. Why? Because it's going the way I wanted to go. Now, it's time for me to see if I can maintain my peace and my faith in God regardless of what's happening, because I'm a big boy on the spiritual path now. It's another level you got to go to. All right, here it is now. Can you choose for truth, Earl, no matter what? And so that's just me sharing with you my process right now. It may not be your process right now, but that's mine right now. Can I keep my peace even if it looks like it's not happening the way I want it to happen? Because if I can pull that off, I can never be upset. That's the payoff. If I can really pull it off, then I'll be peaceful pretty much all the time. But if I'm making it dependent on whether or not I get my script acted out, then I know I can't be peaceful all the time. I'm going to be controlling. I'm going to be another insane maniac control person.
Glad not one of those.
Sweet.
All right. Okay. All right. So let's take a breath. I don't know, just stop in the middle of that. Just take a breath for a minute, please, ma'am. And one more, with 2 times. I'm going to say it once, and then you say it after me. I'm so thankful, number one, for the people who had really, really peaceful, wonderful days today. I'm so thankful for those of you who had the best day ever today. And those of you who had some parts of the day were great, some parts of the day was not that cool, then just ask yourself, what is it that I need to change within myself to allow me to have more peace all the time? What is it that needs to be changed in my perception that would allow me to have more peace right now? Don't beat yourself up, just ask yourself, what would be the best way to look at this? And those of you who had just a crappy day, all day, every kind of way, just tell yourself that you reject that and you're ready to let it go, and it was just your call for love, and that you're innocent. And so we're going to end it with, nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. Together, nothing that I experience is caused by anything outside of me. I experience only the effects of my own choice. I experience only the effects of my own choice. And I choose unlimited happiness and abundance. And I choose unlimited happiness and abundance. I choose unlimited happiness and abundance. I choose unlimited happiness and abundance. Because I'm so damn juicy and cute. Give it up, y'all. Give it up to you. You're awesome. Whether you like it or not, you're awesome. Whether you like it or not, you're awesome. That's the truth about you.
Sweet.
Thank you, Earl.
So I just want to do a light class tonight.
That was sweet.
Was that?